Good morning, everyone. I hope you're doing all right. It's Ronica Johnson here, and we're finally having a look at Elden Ring firsthand. I've deliberately made sure to keep myself away from the media surrounding it. I don't know much about it. I know a few things here and there, but otherwise I'm going in as blind as I can go in. Okay, let's do this. Let's do this. I'm just catching my breath again because, as you know, I can't breathe properly. I am asthmatic. If you didn't know that, it's a struggle. So, as you can see, I'm in the process of creating a character. I'm choosing the starting gift. Well, I know it's not called a starting gift in this, but that's what it is. While a lot of the things have been renamed so far, this is basically just Dark Souls 4 from what I've seen so far. It's not a bad thing. Obviously, I like Dark Souls, and the idea of some more is always good, even if it is a little unoriginal. But I'm not going to say too much yet because we're going to be seeing some things. What this video will cover the character creator, not entirely because I spend ages in a character creator. We'll have a look at the tutorial area, then we'll look at the next main area. We're going to get until the first boss. That's what this video is aiming to do. There could be some cuts here and there because it's a game where a lot can. There's a lot of footage I've got recorded just for a first impressions video, which I don't usually do. As you know, I usually do this in one sitting, but given the nature of a From Software game, I decided I'd do the audio recording separately. So, again, one more reminder, this is not a full review, it's a first impression, so any of my present opinions, they may change, just in case I say something that makes someone upset. So, you can see I'm building my character. Not gonna lie, I thought that very first face looked very unappealing, so it took me a while to get it right. I do like that it's as in-depth as it can be, that's always a good thing. I'm just debating, because I feel like the character creator in From Software games has never been amazing. Now, this one, it's perfectly serviceable. Well, as you can see on screen, it's perfectly serviceable. It'll get the job done. I do like that you can choose different makeups for your character a lot easier. It's not just sliders. You get to actually choose things. You can edit your body size, which you couldn't do in the Demon Souls remake for reasons known only to God. Yeah, it's a pretty decent character. There's a lack of hairstyles, which does sort of bother me because you may or may not notice I like my hairstyles in games. As you can see, I'm just struggling with getting the nose on this character right, because that's important. That's important. We are going to skip ahead in a minute to when I was choosing my hair, because I think that's going to be an important thing for you to see. But yeah, it was a bit of a struggle to get a good facial balance going. It usually is when making a Dark Souls character. I know this is Elden Ring. I bet I'm gonna slip up and name the things in their Dark Souls names, because a lot of them are still. That's something I'm not keen on. You just see there how, like, the zoom in function zooms you in too far to actually get a decent look at what you're doing. So, yeah. We're going to skip ahead now to the hair. Yeah, so these are the hair options. As I say, they're a little bit thin on the ground. It's another From Software staple, it seems. There's just not many hairs available. I do kind of wish I went with those dreadlocks sort of hair I just saw. That would have been cool. But I like this messy hair that covers one of the eyes. I've always liked that sort of thing in games. As you can see, I'm fiddling with the colour. I like black hair. I was quite impressed that you could change how shiny your hair was. That was nice. I made mine very dull because I don't like shiny hair. It looked too greasy, and I've seen greasy hair. That was me messing with the roots. I like that you can give yourself like a greying effect to your hair. I thought that was really cool. Your eyebrows and stuff, as you can see, they're all, as you may have briefly saw there, they're colour-wise, they're set to match your hair, but you can change them, which is good. I just left them black. I don't know how far I'm going to go with this character specifically. This is more just to test out the water of the game before I get into it properly. Oh, speaking of getting into the game properly, one thing I do want to say now, I didn't try the online yet at all. I've only tried single player offline. That's how I play From Software games, so obviously that's how I was going to play it. I'm not the best person to go to ask, is the online part of this game good? I usually don't check it out when it's there. So, I do tend to tend to. I do intend to. I do intend to check it out, just not now. I want to have a bit of fun with it first and then see how it handles. Oh, you can see I'm choosing my eye colours. This is what this game does, let you do different colours for each eye, which is nice. It's not a lot of excuse me. Not a lot of games do that. Well, a lot of games do that, but like so far I think only Dark Souls 3 and Bloodborne in the From Software catalogue are games in which that let you do this. So we're getting to this. There's not much else to say while on the character creation bit. We are going to start the game shortly. This is just something that it takes me forever to do because I really like making custom characters. It's something I love about games, and this is no different. So I did sort of make my lower body a bit chonkier to sort of match how to sort of match my own body. It makes me feel a bit better. But I think we're going to skip ahead to some actual combat in a second. There is an opening cutscene. I'm going to play it in its full, but it's going to be right at the end of the video. So if you don't want to watch it because you want to save it for yourself, this is your warning. At the very end of the video, I'll give another warning before it comes up, so you can miss it if you don't want to see it. Right, we're going to skip ahead now. Okay, so this is where we wake up in the room. Well, this is when we're given our first proper control of the game. You can got a jump button, which I quite like. I heard there was going to be a jump button in this game. That was one of the two things I heard about it, jump button and horses. So, yeah, it's quite cool. You're going to see me do that a lot, where I keep pressing the cross button to try and make myself do things when it's been changed to jump. I might see if I can switch that around in the options later, because it's going to get confusing. Also, it took me an embarrassingly long amount of time to figure out how to two-hand weapons, even after there was a message that showed me how, because I wasn't able to do. You got a map, by the way. This game has a map. Maybe you knew that. I didn't. It's quite nice. It's the first FromSoft game I've played that has a map. That's basically a co-op thingy, I believe. I'm just looking through my inventory. For a while, I missed that halberd in the second slot of my weapons there. Once I found it, I was quite a bit happier. I like halberds in games, because they're quite cool. Although the longsword in this seems to have the usual longsword thing in these games, where it's a very effective starting weapon, and it feels like it'll probably be very viable for the rest of the game. I hope so. Whew. Okay, here we go. Now this is a very impressive looking place, obviously. It's a FromSofty game. I can see where I paused the recording just there, so we're gonna see a boss in a second. But first, I'm gonna be looking around this bit slightly, because one thing Dark Souls trained me to do was look everywhere for secrets. So I think we'll skip ahead to see that boss real quick, because I don't want to spend all day. We don't need to see me looking around this area for ages. Okay, so we're about to see the first boss. Heads up, I didn't beat this boss. This is quite clearly a fight where you're intended to lose. It's a cool looking boss though, I like it. It's a collection of people. There I am testing out things like the roll. Now, I like how quickly the stamina regenerates. That's something I'm going to praise a lot, I feel, but it feels like the stamina in this game regenerates at a hell of a clip, which is lovely. We're just having a bit of a fight here. You might hear my laptop's fan going mental a bit there. You see, I took fatal damage there, as you saw, and the screen just sort of faded to black for a while. I was worried that it had broken. There were noises going on in the background. It sounded like I was dying, but yeah, there's just a prolonged black screen here. I feel like maybe they could have shown us dying. But yeah, this is where we end up. We're sort of in a cave. There's going to be a lady on an horse in a minute who will basically say that we're lucky to have been found by her, but other than that, not a whole lot happens in this bit. This is just the prelude to the actual gameplay section. I probably will skip ahead again so that we can see the actual gameplay. Right, there we go. We're at the bit where we've got some control back now. We get our Estus flask stand-in. It's a flask of Crimson Tears. And we also get a flask of Cerulean Tears. I think I've pronounced that okay-ish. There's a dude there. I'm going to keep talking because he doesn't actually say anything. There's just subtitles. Now, he's telling us to take the plunge, basically. That's what he's about to do, is tell us to take the plunge, drop down there, as a way of getting us into the fact that fall damage in this game is nerfed massively, which is really good. I have long thought that From Software's games have been a little too cruel when it comes to how far you can fall before you die. I'm looking around a bit here because I didn't realise. Yeah, see, in Dark Souls that would have killed you, but Elden Ring obviously got more of a jumping focus, which is fantastic. I feel like that's a cool evolution in the game's formula. Chances are you knew about that before I did. I fully admit, again, I didn't expose myself to as much. I avoided as much media as possible. I knew you could jump, and I know you get a horse at some point. So far it looks and plays a bit like Dark Souls 3 2, you know, if that makes sense. Like, you know how you had Final Fantasy 14 2, like, that's how this feels, looks and plays. Which, again, it's not necessarily a bad thing. I love Dark Souls 3, as you know. Here's our first proper enemy that we actually get to fight. I say that, he doesn't really notice we're here. I just do a quick power attack, that murders him pretty effectively. There's another one. There I am, parrying miles too early. I do attempt parries a few more times. I'm just going to tell you now, I achieve precisely 0 of them. Now, these enemies have quite a build-up on their attacks, so obviously it's to get you into the first area so you can just play the game. I like how we get these more obvious messages to tell us what we're supposed to do. Aside from the parries, I more or less knew what I was doing as soon as I got into the game. It's, yeah, again, it feels very familiar. There are some obvious changes. Again, there's the jump. There's a nice little compass at the top, which later on we get told that when we die, if we lose our, I forgot what they're called. I'm just going to call them souls, because it's just going to be easier. If you've played a Dark Souls game, you'll get it. When we die and lose our souls, the compass will guide us back to them, which I think is quite cool. I can't tell you how many times I've died in a FromSoft game and just forgotten where I was. Here's an enemy who's got a shield. Here's the message that tells me exactly how to two-hand a weapon, and I absorbed none of it, so I just had to go at his shield like an idiot. It's a cool shield. Kinda hope I can get that shield. A few heavy attacks, and then we can just do a follow-up. I like his armour. I really hope we can get some of that armour. It's got that nice medieval look that I really enjoy. I'm not so keen on how weapons vanish when the enemy dies, because if one thing the Demon Souls remake showed us is how little visual details can really make a game better. Not that this makes the game bad, it just makes it, you know, more like Dark Souls. Which again, even that's not bad, but I do worry that Elden Ring overall will struggle with a bit of identity crisis. It will, like, yeah, there I am, failing a parry again. I'm very bad at those. I'm good at the butt stabs though. I'm very good at plunging something into someone's bottom. Do with that information as you will. That's where I realised the dude who was up there fell. What an absolute idiot. But yeah, as I was saying, I worry that it will struggle with identity crisis a bit. Yeah, I worry that the game will have a bit of an issue carving out its own true identity and not just being compared to Dark Souls, because I don't necessarily think it's fair to compare it to Dark Souls, because obviously there's some things the game's going to try to do differently. There's some things that the game is obviously reaching to be more. Obviously, it's reaching to do other things, like obviously it's going to have that jumping focus. I think I heard there's a crouch option. I can't remember. Well, I couldn't remember at the time if that was a thing. I do remember this now. We do get to crouch. We do get a stealth thing. I think we're approaching it, actually, where we learn that there's something of a stealth mechanic, which is interesting. It's not something Dark Souls ever had. You know, would have been nice to be able to just sneak past an army of hollows. That's teaching you how to use the skill inherent to what you got. Basically, yeah, this is why I say Dark Souls 3 too, because it's got weapon skills. And they're tied to your parry button if you are... if you've not got a shield equipped, or if you've not got something equipped that can parry, you'll do a weapon skill. Yeah, I cannot parry for shit in this so far, so I'm probably just not going to bother. Because it plays so much like Dark Souls 3, a game which I've always struggled to parry in, I'm probably not going to make much of a habit of doing that. There, see, here we go, crouching. We get a bit of a tutorial there. This is quite a good tutorial area, I find. Obviously, most From Software games have something of a tutorial area. I feel like this one's a lot more explanative. It's a lot more... I'm just going to say the game feels a lot more accessible already. My throat is going dry there. I feel like the game's being a lot more accessible already, which I personally think is a good thing. I know some people were crying in the build-up to release, saying, oh, it's going to be easier. Well, and, I mean, difficulty is only one part of what makes From Software games themselves. It's probably not even the most vital part, in my personal opinion. There's so much surrounding it. Even now, the combat in this game already has a level of depth. So you got like stance breaking. Here's where I learned that you can jump and do an attack, which is cool. And my throat is getting dry again. That's lovely. Always gets this when I try to record, so that's lovely. There you are. I broke his guard immediately with a jump attack. I just went for a plunge. It's quite cool. But yeah, I was saying that... Oh, this is cool. Apparently, if you die near one of these statues, or die in an area that has one of these statues, you can either revive at your checkpoint or at the statue, which is quite a nice thing. I can see a boss fight. I say a boss fight. Here's where the game pulls a bit of a naughty on us. Like, I said in my Kana review that I don't consider enemies that reappear later as standard enemies to be bosses. They're just enemies, and this is literally just an enemy. They couldn't even design a boss. Like, they just picked a regular dude with a sword. Bit of a letdown. But yeah, I guess this is, mechanically wise, I don't think it's a bad thing to have, like, something like this in the game. It's very encouraging because you kick this dude's ass in a couple of hits. I'm quite good at butt stabs, so I feel like I had that working for me. But, a newer player would probably find that fight a lot easier. They might find themselves a lot more encouraged to go on, which... Again, I think is good. I think more people should be able to play From Software titles. Here I am realising that we're right back at this bit. I probably could have skipped that entire bit. I might do if I make it... Well, I say if. I'm definitely making other characters on this game. This isn't going to be my only time through, but... Yeah, so far, I am liking it a lot. Even if this is just the tutorial section, but... From Software's tutorial sections always had a way of like worming their way into my heart. Like Dark Souls 1 had the Undead Asylum, which I always found weirdly interesting. Dark Souls 2 didn't really have much of a tutorial section. I guess it did actually. Yeah, it had all the different rooms. I almost forgot about those. And yeah, I liked those. And then obviously Dark Souls 3 had the Cemetery of Ash, which I still think looks fantastic even today. So yeah, one thing I noticed later on is that you can allocate your flasks from your checkpoints, meaning I can swap out one blue flask for my Healy flask instead. It's just something about multiplayer. Again, I'm ignoring the multiplayer for now. I prefer to play these games offline single player anyway. I am definitely gonna give the multiplayer a try. I just don't want to now. Bear with me. If you hear rustling, it's because I'm wiping my nose. Right. That's right, it's up that way. There we go. We are about to be treated to a rather beautiful looking place even. I do a nice slow dramatic walk there. That is gorgeous. Like, I suspected that From Software's would make a really beautiful looking game, and so far they are delivering. There's a nice little checkpoint there. You've also got you see those glowy lines, they sort of guide you to where you're supposed to be, which is cool. I like that. I like a lot of this so far. Obviously I'm biased, I love From Software's output, I mostly love it. I still haven't played Sekiro, don't plan to. But from the games I have played, I absolutely adore what they do, and yeah. So this is just us talking to a person about being tarnished. They give us some information about where to go. I'm probably going to skip ahead in a minute to get to the next few interesting bits, because there's a lot of footage left at the moment, and I don't want this video to go too long. So we're going to skip ahead, and I think I'm going to skip to the bit where we're in the catacombs and we're fighting monsters, because that makes sense. Although, before we commit to the next boss, here's a merchant dude we can talk to. I like that he recommends a useful item for you to buy, which, obviously, he's a merchant, he just wants his paycheck. He just wants his payday, but he tells us about a crafting tool that we can buy. I didn't buy it at this point because I couldn't afford it. I just bought something else, I think. I forgot what it was. A telescope. I bought a telescope because I like to peer at things. As you can see, there's a sort of blacksmith bench looking thing in the background where you could see it before this menu came up. You can upgrade your weapons yourself. You don't have to find an NPC to do it. Apparently, once you get a certain crafting tool, you can do it from your crap. What are the bonfire stand? Just going to call them your bonfires because they're your bonfires, aren't they? Functionally speaking, they're just your bonfires. So yeah, it's quite nice. I like that you can do that. There's not much else to say in this bit. There was a bloke on a horse a minute ago, I remember, but I didn't fight him. I just sort of snuck past him because he looked rather tough, and I wanted to abuse the fact that you could sneak. So again, going to skip ahead to the actual interesting part now. So here we are in a bit of a dungeon. There's a dude there who tells us stuff, but I've skipped ahead a bit because, well, I didn't need to show you. There's just some enemies in that room. We're going to see those enemies again in a minute anyway, so don't worry too much. That's the boss room through that door. I don't know that yet, obviously, but as of time of playing, I find that out in a minute. These are the enemy dudes I was talking about. They're basically those little crawly dudes from Dark Souls 3, the little Frowl enemies from Dark Souls 3, both in terms of how they move and their attacks. Basically, that one throwing the darts there, the knives there, is a stand-in for the blow darter. Again, I'm not too just let down by that. It does feel a little bit uninspired, but I do like the visual design of these. Even that, look, the way he backs off there. It's, yeah. It does feel like From Software did just, like, Control-C, Control-V a bunch of stuff. Now, again, I love Dark Souls 3. It's one of my favourite games ever, so I can forgive this. But, yeah. Here's where I find out the enemy was behind me all along. And I think here's where I figure out that butt stabs are so effective. Well, I say that. Butt stabs are always effective in FromSoft games. Just stab in the arse there. Now, as you can see, it's a flamey trap, which is quite interesting. Dark Souls mostly played with like heights in its environment for environmental challenge. Obviously, in Elden Ring, it's not going to work so well if you've got a very vertical jumping focus. Like, heights aren't going to be as lethal to you as they are in previous Souls. Well, I'm just going to say previous Souls games, because this is basically a Dark Souls game. Again, not necessarily a criticism. So, we're climbing a ladder. You can see that, it's on the screen. We meet a couple of enemies up here in a sec. There's one there, just minding his own business. I stab him in the face for minding his own business. You can pick up random crafting items from the world. They do respawn in time, which is kind of cool. I say kind of cool, it's just a basic crafting thing, which, you know, fair enough. I'll be honest, I neither love that it's there or hate that it's there. It's just a thing that's there. I don't know if the Souls games really needed a crafting system, but we have one. Again, I don't mind too much. It's not something that's gonna get on my nerves, or it's not something that's gonna make me like, oh, the worst thing ever. It's just a thing that's there, which, fair enough. Again, it is a new feature added to a new game of theirs from this franchise. You can see we're having a bit of trouble with this dude because he kept crawling away from me. Because yeah, he basically just is the Frowl from Dark Souls 3, just a little bit a little bit hardier. I haven't been able to level up yet. I'm guessing that's tied to an NPC. I kind of hoped that by this point we'd be past that, but maybe I just haven't noticed it. Okay, pick an item. This is interesting. We get these ashes, which apparently let you summon dudes. I didn't use them at all in this. I'm going to give it a proper try later. There's a few things I just didn't do in these early stages while I was coming to... While I was just sort of getting to grips with the game. That's sort of how I play anyway. I just sort of like... I just sort of go chugging ahead. Don't really consider a lot of the things. I see how far I can get without needing them. Because sometimes when I play a new game, they'll introduce all these like systems and shit, and you'll be like, well, am I ever going to use that? Is that ever actually going to be useful to me? Half the time the answer is no. Like, when I played that Tomb Raider reboot back when it came out, here I am sneaking. When I played that Tomb Raider reboot when it came out, I basically just got through the entire game only attacking with the bow just to prove that I could. It wasn't even that hard. It was the most potent weapon. I think I only used the shotgun to get through doors when you had to, and I only used the pistols right at the end when you're forced to. But yeah, obviously that's just how I play games. I see how far I can get with the basic tools to see if the game, if you actually ever come into a scenario where you need the other things. So far, in some games, so far in this game, I got by just fine without two-handing. I do two-hand in the boss fight in a minute. It doesn't get me quite as far as I'd like it to. So, anyway, I'm going to skip to that boss fight. I just pull a lever to open it, to open the door to it, and then I get inside. I'm going to show you all the boss fight footage I have, because it should be interesting. Okay, so we're going into the first boss now, the first real boss, I mean. It's basically this cat statue thing. A catchu, if you will, as it's a cat statue. Here's where I think to swap to my halberd and to two-hand it. I get hit in the face by a very avoidable strike that I just didn't avoid. Not gonna lie, I don't love this first boss's design. It's just a stone cat. I like his sword though. The sword is cool. And the flamey tail. As you can see, I'm trying to make use of two-handing the halberd. It's not going as well for me as it could be. I think it's like, by the third time do I realise that the sword and the shield are your best bet in this fight. At least I found them to be. So just poking him. He moves pretty fast, like not all of his attacks have an obvious telegraph. That's where I got myself murdered. Again though, I was liking how quickly stamina was regenerating in this fight, because, again, something that's always bothered me in Dark Souls is the stamina meter. It felt like it got in the way more than it added. There I was just being happy that I didn't look like gross and undead, because it's just another thing that always bothered me in Dark Souls. I'd spend ages making the perfect character just to have them look like beef jerky. I wonder who it was that coined calling it beef jerky. Probably a YouTuber. Yeah, we're just making our way back to the fight. I could have skipped that, really, but I didn't. Right, here we are, going up against the weird cat monster. So, here I'm trying to use my halberd in one hand and just keep the shield ready. I like the halberd. It's reasonably powerful, but it's not as fast as I'd like it to be. Obviously, it's a big old pole arm, so I can get it. I do like how effective blocking is in this fight. And again, the swiftness of the stamina regeneration means that blocking is obviously going to be a lot more viable throughout the game. I did hate it a bit when certain games try to punish you too much for relying on defending yourself. Here's where I discover he can explode out of his arse. Always entertaining. I'm not gonna lie, as I play the boss fight though, I am enjoying the boss fight. Like, it's not amazingly difficult, it's just I'm still getting to grips with how it works, so I'm I lose this one. I'm just going to spoil that. I lose this boss fight here. But yeah, see, it may be taking most of my stamina bar to block, but it comes back so quickly. Dodging feels quite nice. The weapons feel quite fun to use. There's a sense of weight behind them, which is always good. Here I am trying to get it to explode out of its arse again, because I tweaked that actually leaves it surprisingly vulnerable. I'm pretty sure this next bit kills me in a second. No, I survived that hit. I'm definitely gonna die in a minute. I'm on my last. I've used my last flask already. Yeah, see, I didn't dodge that well at all. Yeah, that attack is surprisingly easy to dodge. You just gotta not be a fuck up like myself. There he is, exploding out of his arse. I just forgot to capitalise on it. There we go. No, I'm surviving further than I think I am. It's coming though. This is the bit where I lose. I do kind of like how awkward and stone the monster is, because obviously it's supposed to be a statue, and it looks and moves very much like a statue, which is quite a nice attention to detail. Yeah, this is what kills me. There we go. There we go. I told you it was coming. The "you died" thing doesn't seem as like aggressive as usual. Maybe that was deliberate to make players feel a bit more encouraged. Stormfoot Catacombs is what I meant to say. I really struggle with reading. You should hear how many takes it takes. How many takes I do just to get a script recorded. It's a lot easier when I'm just winging it like I am now. And this first impressions video is gonna be like 35 minutes long, I bet, because I'm still got to show that cutscene I wanted to show. Right. Here we go. This time I choose to stick with my longsword because it's a good sword. Reasonable damage, good speed. You know, I'm quite happy with it. I've always liked the longsword in Souls games. It's always been a very viable weapon, especially come Dark Souls 3. Like, the Knight class starts with some of the best gear. Here's where I'm learning he can breathe fire. I'm worried I'm about to get stun locked and murdered, but that didn't happen. I'm quite happy with that. I took a bit of a hit, but the game didn't punish me too much beyond that. And I'll admit that seems to be a recurring pattern for these earlier stages of the game. It doesn't feel anywhere near as punishing. It feels a lot more like, here, you know, take a hit. You've learned your lesson. Now show us what you've learned from this encounter, which I like. I mean, again, I've said before, I don't think difficulty is the thing that makes Dark Souls Dark Souls. I think there's a lot of little things. It's the environment, which Elden Ring certainly is nailing. I love how the place looks. Even these dingy catacombs have a sense of artistry to them. Even the basic stone boss, the little stone gargoyle enemies, they looked interesting and unique. I like this dude here quite a lot. Even if I don't think his design is that cool, I do like I like the way he moves, and I like his sword. As I said, it's a cool sword. It's a nice big hunk of metal, or probably a big hunk of stone actually. I imagine it hurts like fuck to get hit by that. I like how the fog is golden in this game. Not that that's a big deal. So far, there has been tidbits of lore scattered throughout, as is the standard formula. We're not just told everything that's going on. We're given like some vague ideas about what's going on, and then we're sort of just thrown in. Which, again, I like being able to piece it together myself. Blocked a fair amount of that actually. Again, here I am. I'm just trying to get him to do his explode out the arse attack, because if he does that, you can get a few good hits on him. There we go. See, move in, slice, slice, slice. I am quite happy that it only took me 3 goes to beat this dude. Usually in a FromSoft game, takes me at least 4 or 5 to get the first boss down. I think Dark Souls Remastered, I got the first boss down fairly simply. There we go, see, I won. Enemy felled, and I got some ash so I can summon dudes, which is cool. I was a bit confused as to where to go here. But then I walked over to this bit and it just let me return to the entrance of the dungeon. So yeah, there's obviously going to be a dungeon focus on this one, which is fair enough. I can deal with that, especially when you've got the lovely little teleporter at the end that gets you back to the entrance. I like the name of this place as well, Limgrave. I think I've pronounced that wrong. See there's plenty of things to scavenge. There's a dude there. So far, my first impressions are, I say so far, we're nearing the end of the video. My first impressions of this game in general, I really like it. I really like how it feels. I like how it looks. The sound is pretty good. I like how there are animals in the overworld here, like not just these dudes, there are like actual wildlife wandering around. It makes the world feel a little bit more populated, like it's an actual world. I did worry when I heard it was going to have an open world. Oh, look at that dude stumble there. I like that little detail. That's cool. This is what I mean by it's the little details that make the game. But yeah, we're gonna call it here in a sec. This has been a first impressions of Elden Ring. We're about to play that cutscene I mentioned earlier, so if you don't want to see it because you want to save it for when you actually play the game, then this is a good place to stop watching. I'll be covering this game in a review on the... Let me check my calendar, bear with me. Should have done this before I sat down to record. On the 5th, Saturday the 5th, I'll be doing a review for this one. I bet this has gone up before my Fallout 4 review has gone out as well. There's no betting it's going up before the Fallout 4 review's out, even though in that review I make reference to the fact that I can't cover the game properly this week. But I am happy to have been able to cover what I've covered. So, yeah, this has been Elden Ring. Thanks for watching. I will see you next time. The cutscene is coming up in a few seconds, so as I say, if you don't want it spoiled, I suggest you stop watching about now.
The fallen leaves tell a story. The great Elden Ring was shattered. In our home, across the fog, the lands between. Now, Queen Marika the Eternal is nowhere to be found. And in the night of the Black Knives, Godwyn the Golden was first to perish. Soon, Marika's offspring, demigods all, claimed the shards of the Elden Ring. The mad taint of their newfound strength triggered the shattering. A war from which no lord arose. A war leading to abandonment by the greater will. Oh, rise now, ye tarnished, ye dead who yet live. The call of long-lost grace speaks to us all. Horalu, chieftain of the Badlands, the ever-brilliant Gold Mask. Fear, the deathbed companion, the loathsome Dung-Eater, and Sir Gideon Ofnir, the all-knowing. And one other, whom grace would again bless. A tarnished of no renown. Cross the fog to the lands between. To stand before the Elden Ring and become the Elden Lord.